Howdy, neighbor. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday evening on Up and In. My name is Alex I. Black Elmore, as always, with my co-host Chris Hackney. Hack, how is your weekend going?
Good weekend. Did a lot of activities. Watched some good baseball games. Well, really watched that Mexico City series. How about you? You watched that game the series this weekend?
Yes, I absolutely did. It was absolutely fantastic series. Anytime an over under is at 17, I'm going to be tuning in, hoping for a lot of home runs. Almost did a home run parlay. Was one short. Alex Bregman, you got to snap out of your slump here and get me one soon. But no, that was a lot of fun to watch. I absolutely loved having a great time watching it. No, did you by any chance see the game today though?
Bits of it. I was in and out of that today. I saw Houston won. They swept the series, so that's good for them.
I'll tell you what, with the way the Houston Astros looked over the last two games, you would think that the Astros were back and ready to compete in the West. But then again, I started thinking about the reason why those over-unders were so high is the atmosphere. The ball flies so much further in Mexico City, obviously. And like I said, there was plenty of fireworks to go around. I'm hoping that this will get the Astros hitters out of their slump. The Astros pitching absolutely held it down, though, only allowing, what was it? Only 3 runs today. How many runs yesterday? I think it was like 10 runs yesterday. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a late. They gave away a few runs late in the game. Honestly, it was a great series. I love the international series. Mexico City is a great, fantastic place to play. Could you imagine like the Yankees or the Dodgers, two teams with actual like powerful lineups going in a place like that? It would be a home run derby.
It would be. That would be a fun one. I know we were talking about it, but I think they were happy with the two teams they got. Colorado, one of their all-time greats is Vinny Castillo. So he got to be the ambassador for the team this weekend. And Houston has a lot of their stars come from Latin America. So I think we think of like the home run aspect of it and giving them what we view would be the best games. Whereas I think MLB's done a good job of sending teams that have a heavy Latino presence in their clubhouse and history.
That's true. That is kind of like the closest opportunity to have, a home game, with a major league program. So that is very true. A good call out. Where else are they going? Where else are they going into international series? Were they going to London? Is that right? They played at the beginning of the season in Seoul. So that'll be a great series. I have to look when that is and see which two teams are playing there. But I'm just looking over at the stats here as far as the season starting. Mookie Betts leading the league this season so far, an average at 387. Does that surprise you that Mookie Betts kind of is off to this hot of a start?
No, I think him leading in so many categories. Because if you go deeper dive into the categories, he's having a unprecedented start. It's crazy what he's doing. He leads in the batting average. He leads in hits.
He hits as well by 5.
On base and slugging, runs scored. It's crazy the run that he is on. And as we're talking about him, I'd just like to give some credit to Marcell Ozuna, who leads in almost every other category that Betts isn't leading in. Like the start that these two players have been off to, and Atlanta plays LA this weekend. We're going to see some good baseball coming up in these weeks coming.
I think the player that really is kind of grabbing my attention the most, and you can probably give me some more insight to this, is Alec Bohm of the Phillies. Like he's third in average right now, batting 365. He's got 4 home runs and 26 RBIs to go with it. I feel like every time I see a Phillies highlight come on, he's involved. Is he? He's kind of the life force of the Phillies right now, or what's going on in the Bohm camp?
We'll just use the last 7 days. We like to use like hitters of the week, things like that, stay up current. His last 7 days, he's batting 567 with 1 home run, 9 RBIs, and 7 runs scored. He's been on an incredible tear. And chat, yes, Stott had a great game today. Yeah, an amazing game. The Bohm has showed up, and when amidst Castellanos struggling, some other players starting off to a slow year. Bohm has been a steady force in the middle of the lineup. And all he does is drive in runs. I believe he had over 100 last year. So Uh, he's becoming one of the Phillies' most consistent RBI sources.
Yeah, I mean, I said the average shows it alone. He's got 4 home runs, 26 RBIs or I think 26 games into the season. RBI a game, not too bad, not too shabby. In the home run category, obviously Ozuna is number 2 with 9 home runs this season. Obviously, we've already mentioned him. But then, of course, surprisingly, you got Mike Trout playing like he's in his prime, leading the way, 10 home runs, also batting leadoff. We'll give Mike Trout some appreciation later on when we get into that part of the program. But he's looking fantastic this season. But let's talk a little bit more about Ozuna. I mean, he said 9 home runs, 31 RBIs, running away with RBI lead in the majors this season. He's got 31. Perez in Kansas City's got 26, is second best. I mean, Atlanta's offense scored the third most amount of runs in the league so far this season. He's a huge part of that. I mean, is there anything else that you want to say about him before we kind of move on to the next section?
I'll mention the chat again, Gene, with the stats. Yes, he has a low batting average, but this year he's not missing with runners on. And I think that is what Atlanta looks for out of him. He's not supposed to be their 300 hitter. That would be a bonus. Who wouldn't love a 300 hitter? But he's there to produce when runners are on. And in that lineup, they're getting runners on for him, and he's plating them.
So I think that what Gene is referring to is Mike Trout's batting average. I think is the one that he's referring to because Ozuna's hitting like 370. He's killing it. Okay. But yeah, so with Mike Trout though, yes, he is batting like 234. But here's the thing with Trout is he is the entire offense. He's essentially having to force his at bats. He's not striking out. He's averaging less than 1 strikeout per game, which is kind of the metric I really look for. Is you want to average less than a strikeout per game. He's got 10 RBIs. And here's the problem. His team, though, is not getting on base for him. He's got 14 RBIs this season on 10 home runs. He should at least be double that. He's batting leadoff right now, 226. But like I said, he's doing every single thing he can. I think he's only missed 1 game so far this season, which is astronomically better compared to previous seasons where he missed most of them with injury. Honestly, it's good to see Mike Trout performing at this level. Give it another month. I said by the end of May, he's batting closer to 270, 280, and we won't be talking about his average problems. But like I said, he's kind of having to do it all right now. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But we'll jump right into the next section, which we'll start off with a little bit of funniness, as I like to call it. Is funniness even a word? I'm pretty sure it is. But we're going to start with a little bit of humor. This is where our week started, so this is where we're going to start the show. And that's with Aaron Boone earlier this week getting ejected 5 pitches into his game. He was arguing. He was given a warning from the home plate umpire, and someone in the stands right behind the Yankees dugout started chirping away at the umpire. Umpire turns around, tosses him. It was absolutely hilarious. Aaron Boone freaks out, understandably, but I can't stand Aaron Boone. So he freaks out, understandably. Blames on the guy behind him. He gets tossed. He threatens to go to his league. It's basically like, I'm going to tell mommy on you. It's pretty funny. Hack, did you get to see the highlight of this?
I did. It was funny, but it also is, for as funny as it is serious that Aaron Boone got tossed for doing nothing. And the umpire's explanation after the game that, well, I think then it came from the end of the bench and you're responsible for what all of them say. That's a ridiculous, that's just not the way that Major League Baseball works. So although funny, it wouldn't be funny to me if it was the Phillies manager and it's a postseason game and you lose your manager due to a heckling fan. And these umps this year have no reason to expect anything but heckling because they have not been officiating has not been good at all in baseball.
Yeah, they definitely haven't done their part in prolonging the inevitable of getting essentially robots calling balls and strikes and outs and safe calls here soon, which they're already testing in the minors, which I think has had huge success with where the umpire, or not the umpire, the pitcher and or the batter is able to challenge 1 pitch per at bat. I've seen some great things from it, including game-changing calls as far as balls and strikes. So that's something that's on the way. Umpires need to kind of shape up a little bit if they're going to kind of, 1, keep their jobs, and 2, I love having the umpires as part of the game. It's been part of the game since the beginning. I would hate to see them go away. I like human error in games. For me, like I said, we have the challenges, on the base pass, balls and strikes. I'm okay with there being, a a little bit of, hit or miss on those balls and strike calls, but things are getting ridiculous this year. But we're getting off topic. I did find out that Boone will not be fined for being ejected as they normally are. So at least they are going to not fine him as they traditionally would. And then the umpire named Hunter Wendelstedt, he will have this put on his review for the game, which actually their reviews help determine placement for playoffs, all-stars, and merit increases and bonuses. So this ejection that shouldn't have happened will hurt him on the back end of the season. So nothing will be done publicly. Nothing is going to be. He's not going to be suspended or smacked with a ruler on the back of the hand or anything. But he will have this affect him on the back end as far as opportunities in the playoffs and making money. Hack, do you have anything else to say about this before we move on?
Nope. We should move on.
All right, fine. We're moving on. Hack's like, I'm bored of this Aaron Boone Yankee trash. All right, here we go. Next up in latest news from earlier in the week, Johnny Cueto, a man I love when he played for the Giants, has officially signed a minor league deal with the Texas Rangers. 38 years old, two-time All-Star, signed a minor league contract. If at any time this season he makes it to the 40-man roster, that contract turns into a $1.4 million. Are you happy to see this? Sad to see this? Or sorry, 1.6 million on that number. Are you happy to see this? I love Johnny Cueto. Is he someone that you're happy to see kind of have another chance?
Yeah. Look, I'm never not going to be happy to see somebody get a contract. Go for it. Honestly, last year with Miami, I didn't see a major league pitcher. He struggled last year in Miami, and you're going to Texas, a team with much larger aspirations than Miami. I don't want to sidetrack this mission, but every time I see a signing like this, I would ask the GM of Texas, you truly believe that a 38-year-old Johnny Cueto is better than Trevor Bauer, and that is going to help your team get to where you want to be? So it's not my issue with him getting money. It's that these supposed winning organizations that want to do the best for their fans, you could sign Trevor Bauer for that $1.6 million, and I personally believe have much better results for your investment.
Yeah, I was very surprised, just like you said, before we go too far. I was definitely surprised to see him kind of get on a roster before Trevor did, because he's been lighting it up. And he had his one rough start to start off in the Mexican League. But since then, he's been lighting it up. The other day, he had, 6 innings pitched and 13 strikeouts. Dude is mowing through batters. Dude is looking mid-season form. I know there's a lot of politics when it comes to kind of getting him back on a team that a lot of people just kind of don't want to deal with or wash their hands of. And I definitely understand that aspect, but a minor league contract, getting him at one, it'll help with it'll help getting fans to see your minor league players. Well, first off, honestly, you want who would be really fun to see him play? Get him on the Savannah Bananas, man. Maybe that's a bit out there, but it'd be nice to see him go there to pitch. Have a Trevor Bauer tour. Have him play for every minor league team. He'll come out and throw one inning for the fans, strike everybody out until someone picks this guy up. But you're right. This is easily a topic we can get sidetracked on. But good for Cueto. I hope that he makes the team makes it $1.6 million if he joins the 40-man roster at any point this season. So hopefully he's able to make one more run and kind of ride off into the sunset and have that good last season. You know what I mean?
I think he'll definitely get to the majors. There's too many injuries that happen for him to not get one start this year in the majors. So
yeah, especially later on in the season, if it's we need a spot start, or we're already in the playoffs, or our season's already over, why not throw him out there? We're going to continue to roll on. We'd like to keep the show 60 minutes so you guys aren't away from your families or anything else going on for too long. Next up, this is a topic, Heck, that you kind of brought up earlier and want to talk about. That was that the Cubs traded Garrett Cooper to the Red Sox for cash consideration. He was designated for assignment earlier this week. He's batting .270 on the season. Red Sox have now picked him up to kind of shore up that first base spot. What is it about this Garrett Cooper trade that kind of grabbed your attention?
Well, we talked about Boston's hot start on the season. They have cooled a little bit since that initial first week run. But I think this showed their fans and baseball they plan on trying to compete this year, and that's a good thing. It's not a blockbuster move. Said he's a 270 hitter. For his career, he bats around 250, 260, but he is a major league first baseman who's spent almost a decade in the majors. He's going to shore up first base for the Red Sox, and I think it's good. We were talking about a couple weeks ago. It's the Red Sox and Yankees. Now Baltimore has moved back up that race, but it was nice to see, as an older fan, Red Sox Yankees. It's nice to see
Red Sox Yankees.
Always,
absolutely.
It was nice to see the Red Sox. Like I said, they didn't go break the bank, but they stayed competitive because Bobby Dahlback wasn't doing it in the week that Casas has been out. He went to the 60-day DL, so he's going to be gone for some fear longer than that. So I just like this move for them, and it's nice to see the Cubs were sending them down, so it's not like once I believe Patrick Wisdom came back, he became extra. So I think this is good for everybody.
Speaking of Cubs Red Sox, they're playing right now this weekend, and the Red Sox absolutely beat the brakes off of the Cubs yesterday, who's one of the hotter teams in the league. The Red Sox won yesterday 17-0. And another kind of player that's really kind of stepping in, I want to shout out while we have the Cubs and the Red Sox on our minds, is where is he at? Here we go. Yes, he is filling in at shortstop for the meantime. It's Ceddanne Rafaela. He only has 2 home runs, 17 RBIs this season. He's batting 191. But just the other night, he had 1 home run, 7 RBIs against the Cubs last night in a 17-0 win. Dude's batting in the 9th spot. Absolutely killed it. Showed out. I just want to give him a quick shout out because it's not something that gets a lot of playing time, but he's taking advantage of the playing time he's getting, and he deserves a little shout out. What's so funny, man?
I'm laughing because pre-show, I was laughing at you about stats for everything. iBlack's gonna have a stat later that's just like, but since you bring up this player, he went 4 for 4, home run, 7 RBIs. He also stole a base, becoming the second rookie with that stat line since Bo Jackson, 1989. There you go. Well,
dude,
okay.
You had this one ready.
Red Sox Cubs, and that was on like the opening of the show. So,
dude, killed it. That's awesome because that is really funny that we both had that player kind of pinpointed because he doesn't get a lot of opportunities to show out, but when he does, he definitely did yesterday. We're going to continue on. Again, if y'all like the show, please comment in the chat. We'll try to answer questions as we can if we have time. So go ahead, if you have anything, throw them in. But we're kind of talking about injuries. We're going to kind of talk about the biggest injuries of the week. We'll start out with the background here, which is obviously Blake Snell. He's on the 15-day IL with a left abductor strain injury. Manager Bob Melvin did say that he is anticipating Snell will be out longer than the initial 15 days. He hasn't had too great of outings this season so far, hasn't had a positive impact on the team yet this season, but we were looking he's making that turn. What kind of reaction does this make you have?
I mean, I know there's a segment of fans that will say it was because he didn't do the spring training, the holdout. I'm going to be honest. I think this is the reason he didn't get the contract. If you are a Blake Snell fan, he doesn't pitch a whole season. He gets hurt every year. He starts slow, but when he comes back, if the Giants can stay in the hunt while he's hurt, when he comes back, he's going to come back and he's going to be all-star Blake Snell because baseball is about averages and it always averages out. He is a elite pitcher, but this is the rub with Snell. It's what you get. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm really hoping you're right. I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping he comes back and he is the Snell that that we signed and hoped for. But so far, I've just been really disappointed as a Giants fan. But again, like I said, I'm not holding it too much against him. He didn't have a lot of ramp up time to kind of kick off the season, so I'm not going to give him too much strain on that. But hopefully, he's able to come back fully healthy and not be on and off the IL the rest of the season. These left abductor strain injuries, they can tend to kind of linger. But we're going to kind of move on. Got a couple other injuries to talk about. Wade Wiley, 37. He was expected to be a big part of the Brewers' starting rotation this year. He's 37 years old. Turns out he needs full Tommy John surgery. He's expecting to be out 11 to 12 months. until he's kind of able to start throwing again. And then at that point, he said he's going to kind of reevaluate, see if he feels like he can continue to play, or if he's going to retire. He hasn't had the hottest start to the season, Wade Wiley hasn't. But is this going to be a huge impact to the Brewers, or somebody that you and I talked about earlier in the week, kind of being one of the hotter teams taking over the lead in the Central? Is this a huge blow to the Brewers, or maybe not as much as we think?
It's a blow. I will see what they can do to fix it, but you don't really hear about them having minor league pitchers coming up. We talked about how we were impressed that their pitching staff has been able to hold it together with the losses of Burns, Woodruff, Devin Williams going down. You can't. Baseball is too watered down at this point for a team like the Brewers to absorb this many losses to one position. I don't want to say it's going to sink them, but it's going to make it hard, and they're going to have to go make a move. They may have to make a move like the Red Sox, not a set the world on fire, but something to keep you afloat.
And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if later in the show we talk about a couple names that may be on the radar of a team that might be in pitching need. Another huge kind of blow to the Miami Marlins. We got Luzardo. He was just put on the 15-day IL as well. He was put on for a left elbow tightness as well. Do you think we're concerned about this? Anytime we hear that elbow lately, it seems to be bigger than it should be. Garrett Cole, for example. Luzardo being kind of the ace of that Miami staff, Miami's already kind of in the dumpster. I mean, should they kind of be worried about this? Should they kind of take their time getting him back? Or are they kind of in that we can still come back and kind of make a run at this thing, kind of push them, kind of force them to come back a little earlier? What are you thinking?
So the team might try to bring him back. If I'm his agent, why? What's the point? Miami's not contending. You're not going to contend. For him, the best thing he could do would be to pitch his way to a contender, which isn't guaranteed because he's their de facto ace, so you might not want to trade your de facto ace. I think, and chat, I want you to help me out here. iBlack has been talking about, we're going to talk about pitching for weeks, and he keeps pushing it back. And every week, my screen is filled with more injured pitchers. So next week, we need to speak about this so that I don't have to keep dancing around the topic with all these injuries and take you on a 30-minute rabbit hole.
All right, fine. Next week, 90-minute special episode.
Next week, we're going to address some of what I believe, why we see 4 to 5 pitchers on this list every week with elbows and shoulders and everything else in between.
Heck, you are right. I honestly can't put it off anymore. We need to have this conversation. It's a conversation that's started to be had kind of more and more all over the place, and we need to have that discussion. So next week, expect a little bit longer of an episode. We'll kind of dig into pitchers' injuries and how they're growing in frequency and possibly the causes behind it and why it may or may not be happening. So next week, tune in for that. But we're going to continue on. If we just talked about Luzardo, another pitcher, though, that's not elbow or shoulder related is Zach Gallen. He did pull his hamstring during his last start, but he is confident he will make his next start. So it looks like he's not going to be missing any time. So Diamondbacks will not be missing out on any starts from him. And then we got Anthony Rendon. We were talking earlier about kind of Mike Trout kind of doing everything, leading off where Anthony Rendon was doing. He's hitting 10 leading the league in home runs. But Anthony Rendon over here, he's got a hamstring tear. He says he's expected to take longer to recuperate due to his age. And, of course, his lack of love of the game will also probably hinder his return, his speedy return. Do you think what's your opinion on this? Tell me what you got. I feel like you got a lot.
You got 0 hits from him from a calendar year. Then he went out and gave you like 5 in 1 week. His hammy's a little tight. Congrats. You earned your money for the year, Anthony. You enjoy the break. But it's never good when you have a pulled hamstring and you're already letting the fans and the team know, hey.
It's a tear. It's a tear, Hack. It's a tear.
Okay, I have a torn hammy, and I don't know what the doctors are telling you, but whatever they're telling you, double it. That's never a good sign, but we'll see.
No, I mean you're right. Like I said, he was batting leadoff. He got his average up to 272 once he started getting rolling. Still no home runs on the season. Honestly, if he does return, I'm thinking like first game after the All-Star break. That's my over-unders All-Star break. Before or after? I'm thinking after. Um,
Okay.
he's gonna stretch this bad boy as long as he can. But that's kind of injury updates. Is there any other injuries that you can think of that maybe we didn't talk about, Hack, that might be impacting
Yeah.
some teams this week? Or
I don't want to talk about that one, but I was talking about the future injury off of your prediction. You said he'll return the game after the All-Star break. 5 games after that, Anthony Rendon will be shut down for the season. So we have like a dual prediction on up and in, a return and a exit, all in the same show. You don't get that
okay,
everywhere, folks.
that's true. Sign up, sign up now for our mailing list. But no, that's injuries. If there's any other injuries that kind of jumped out that maybe we missed, throw them in the chat, please. I just want to give a huge shout out to our listeners on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, anywhere else I'm not listening. I appreciate you guys watching from all over the country. Go ahead and throw in the chat where you guys are from. We appreciate, like I said, fans of all major league teams. I'm a Giants fan. My man Hack over here is in Philadelphia, so he's a Phillies fan. Please throw in the chat who you guys are a fan of. We're gonna keep this train moving though. Next up, we're going to talk about the unfortunate decline of Jackson Holliday. And I wouldn't really necessarily say decline because he just got brought up to the majors, had a little bit of a rough start, started 1 for 30. Since this graphic was made, I have the official number. He finished 2 for 34, 18 strikeouts, .059 batting average. Should Orioles fans and Jackson Holliday be worried? Or is this just maybe a little bit of some tweak, a slight tweak in his swing?
I think it's too early. Baseball's hard. It's very rare for somebody to make the jump from AAA and just day one look like a major leaguer. I mean, this was the stats I was talking about. You have all-time greats on this list, and like
I didn't make this list. I didn't make this list. All right.
It's just, but I'm saying like that's the thing with baseball. It's not your first. It's about how you go back. And yeah, now he sees his flaws. I mean, you don't see major league pitching until you see major league pitching. And even spring training, I'm speaking of ignorance. I've never been to spring training. I'm not a former major leaguer, but I imagine spring training is not the same as seeing Spencer Strider standing on the mound and at home in his ballpark when a game counts. So, yeah, it was rough for him. Go down, get some seasoning. He'll be back up.
Yeah, I'm not really worried. And as as John is saying here, the team did him a disservice. They should have let him in the majors from the rip. And I totally agree with you. They should have started him in the majors from opening day. He definitely earned and deserved that, especially from his spring training showing. And for me, here's what I'm saying. All right, here's minor league pitching, spring training pitching, major league pitching. Would you agree with that, Hack?
Yes.
I think it's much easier to go from the middle ground and go up to full-time major league pitching versus 2 innings of majors pitching to nine innings of majors pitching, then going down, facing subpar pitching, then making that jump kind of right back up. I totally agree with you, John. 100%. They should have gotten up there from jump. But again, to his next point that he also commented, he's only 20 years old. I think he's going to be just fine. And again, look at some other top names. Willie Mays, Cal Ripken Jr., Ken Griffey Jr., Jackson Holliday. These are some rough starts to careers, and we all know how they turned out. So I'm not going to kind of jump off the bandwagon yet. I'm excited to see him come back up. Just in his, even though he went 2 for 34, the ratings increase in Baltimore Orioles games on Major League Baseball television was through the roof. So this kid puts butts in seats and eyes on screens, so he'll be back soon. Anything else you kind of want to say about him before we go?
I think it's his name that did this one to him, because this is not the Oriole way. And honestly, it's not the way of the new MLB. The Kansas City called Witt up and dealt with it from day one. Like, he didn't go back down. And eventually he turned that corner. Corbin Carroll got right into the lineup, right into team leader. And on his own team, Rauschman and Henderson and Rodriguez, once they got called up, they didn't get sent back down. So I do agree with John's point and from the chat. I think it's the holiday name. And I think there's a little bit of, there's again, just an outsider looking in, humbling a kid before his head got too big for their clubhouse. Not that I'm saying he has a big head, but you saw how shocked he was. He didn't make the major league club. So I think they're just using a different approach for him. And I think he's going to return a better player.
It's actually really funny that you said that. I was never going to bring this up, but the video of him being told that he was getting brought up to the majors went viral. I'm sure you saw it, right?
Yep.
Was it just me, or did he look really disinterested in the conversation? Like, okay, coach, yep, let's just finish this up. Can we get to her? Yep, my dad. Yep, my dad is this. Yep. I'll call my dad. Yep, okay. Like, he really didn't care. And then, like, when he was told he was going, he was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, he didn't seem like, one, he was surprised, and two, he didn't really seem interested. So I don't know if it's just, that not cockiness, but that confidence that he has, he expects to do great things, or if it's something else. And then as he goes on his career, we'll find out. But for me, I'm on his side. I got his back with this, so I can't wait to see him back up. Hopefully before the All-Star break. But I'm thinking after the All-Star break is when he'll make that return. Do you think that's probably probably a good estimate?
They've closed the gaps
True.
on the Yankees, and I believe now they lead the division. So if you're talking about, there was a time, I believe 2 weeks ago, I was telling you have, I think it was Tony Kemp on the team taking out bats, pinch hitting. You're not saying that now they're winning. Everything's looking good for them. Let him get some seasoning down there. And to your point, before we move on, just with the video, I didn't read that as him. I saw it differently. I saw, why do I have to keep hearing about my father?
That could have been it.
And we have not, we've only ever seen these major leaguers embrace being the son of, like Prince Fielder was always talking about his father, Vlad with his dad, Bo with his dad. We haven't really seen a player yet be like, it's cool my dad was a Major League Baseball player, but can I just be Jackson Holliday and not have to hear, man, you're lucky? Because at the end of the day, it don't matter who your dad is when you step in the box and a pitcher's firing 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That's you in the box. That's Jackson Holliday. So I thanked my dad for giving me the skills, but now I thank myself for being in this gym every day, learning to hit. And coach, like, give me my news. Quit shining my dad. He ain't coming here to help you coach. Like, you get to coach Jackson Holiday.
Okay.
That's how I
like that. Hey, no, I like that take, Hack. I'm not going to argue with you. I like that take a lot. We're going to keep it moving, though. We've gotten held up on some awesome subjects, awesome topics, but we got more to go, including Hack and I's favorite all-time team. But we're going to jump into our new segment called 3 Up, 3 Down. Instead of talking about the same division leaders every week, Hack had this brilliant idea. Let's talk about 3 teams that are on the rise and 3 teams on the decline every week. That way we kind of get everybody in. And you know what? I love it. We tried it out last week. It worked out fantastic. So we're going to go continue that tradition. And the first team on our downward spiral is going to be the San Diego Padres. They went 2-4 this week, swept by the Philadelphia Phillies, and they lost a series to the Rockies. Like I said, they lost the series to the Rockies, I think is really all I had to say there before people were like understood why they were on this list. Their bullpen ERA is absolutely fantastic. It's below 2, but their starting pitcher, or their 4 out of 5 starting pitchers besides Dylan Cease are above 4, an ERA, 3 of them being over 5. So that's what's really hurting them this season. What's your opinions on the Padres and kind of where the slump they're in right now?
I think it's what you said. The Rockies series started bad for them. I don't blame them for getting swept by the Phillies. When you talk about their starting pitching, it lends itself to get beaten by a team like the Phillies because they hit bad starting pitching really well and really far. The problem going forward for the Padres is I don't when we talk about their pitching staff, I don't see it improving much. And the teams you have to face, forget outside of your division, you have to face the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. You're by the time you leave your division, you're beaten down, and it's going to be rough for them. It was funny you sent me the teams, and there's only one team on this list that I didn't, because we talked about preseason rankings, and I told you I had them selling and trading Tatis at the deadline. So this goes to what I thought they were going to be. I think the start was more fake than what we see now. This is who they are.
Yeah, I mean, they dropped from second to third in their division. The Giants, who are still under 500, have passed them into second place. They've lost 4 in a row, 3-3 and 3-7 over their last 10, and they've given up 152 runs to the 149 runs that they've scored. But where last week they were on the teams on the rise, and they had just beat the Dodgers in a series. As soon as the next week happens, that's the funny thing about baseball, man. Ups and downs, and this week was not good for the Padres. I'm hoping they can turn it around this week. We're going to keep this list rolling. After the Padres, we have a team I was hoping never to put on here as a fan of baseball, and that's, of course, the Toronto Blue Jays. They are also in a downward spiral. 2-5 this week. They lost series to Kansas City, which is respectable, and the Dodgers, also respectable. 2 very good teams this season. However, my problem with them this week is that they've scored 17 runs in their 7 games they played this week. 17 runs.
Yeah.
That's like 2.5 runs a game. You're not going to win in baseball, no matter how good your starting pitching is, no matter how good your bullpen is. 3 runs a game is not going to do it. What's your opinions on the Blue Jays, Zach?
You're more forgiving on. This is the team that I'm shocked to be on. And I still, unlike some people, I don't switch off the teams. I said the Blue Jays were going to make the playoffs and win a playoff series. And I still think they're going to get it right.
That's true.
But this has been, Gossman needs to figure it out, or he has looked lost this whole season. And he's been an up and down at times pitcher, but it's just been a constant down. They're not hitting. They're ruining barriers. Me and you have later on, we'll talk. I have him as the best pitcher in the first month, and they can't. As a team, they look lost out there. You say it was the respectable series is coming into the season. You were supposed to be able to beat the Royals. I know we can say right now. The loss doesn't look bad of losing that series, but you're supposed to be better than the Royals, and the Dodgers series is supposed to look a lot closer than it did. Because you can go 2-1 on a series, and the numbers can look like, hey, we were close. But did you have a chance to see any of those games? They don't look like they belong on the field with the Dodgers. They're not. I thought Justin Turner would hype them up to go play his old team, and instead, it just fell flat. It's a shame. I thought baseball's a long season, but they need to fix it.
It's funny you mentioned Turner because he's really the only player on the team that's really actually producing. I mean, he's batting .306. He's only struck out 17 times this season, 12 RBIs, 2 home runs. But I mean, yeah, the Blue Jays have really kind of shot themselves in the foot this year. I mean, Bo Bichette, last season he batted over 300. This season he's batting .210. I mean, Vlad Guerrero Jr., he's only hit 3 home runs this season. He's yet to kind of hit that power stroke that he usually kicks in at the beginning of the season. He's yet to kind of hit that extra gear. Hopefully he can turn that around. But he's also been playing sloppy defense. There was a play this last week where it was a play where he had to just come off the bag a little bit to make a play. Instead, he's almost like jumping his hand away because the runner's coming in, letting a ball go past the first base. So I don't know exactly what's going on with the Blue Jays. Hopefully they can turn it around. They're not in last place in the East. That spot belongs to the Rays right now, as they deserve to be. But hopefully the Blue Jays can turn it around because I don't want to ever see them on this list again. Anything about the Blue Jays before we leave, or go on to the next team?
Nah, hopefully they have a better week next week.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. But first, on our first spot this week on the kind of the downward slide list is going to be the Angels. 4 losses in a row, 1-6 this week. 4 losses within 2 runs this week. They just can't seem to win those close games. They can't seem to put teams away. What's your opinion on the Angels? And besides Mike Trout, and Ohapi. I mean, no one's really kind of playing well this season.
I mean, I had them more so fighting Oakland for the last place than fighting Texas and Houston for first place. So another team that I think got off to a good start, but is regressing back to what almost everybody thought they were going to be coming into the season.
Yeah, I mean they're 1-9 over the last 10 games. They've lost, like I said, lost 4 in a row. They've given up the third most runs in the league this season. Pitching is not their strongest suit this year. And Mike Trout, who's by far the one bright spot on the team, as our listener Gene mentioned earlier, he's hitting under 230 right now. So the one bright spot isn't really a true bright spot. So I'm hoping the Angels can turn the season around, get some Angels in the outfield, get some inspiration. But I want to see Trout at least make a push for the playoffs this year. I don't want his biggest stage to be the All-Star game. So I'm hoping that, and I would also like to see them be successful post Ohtani. I think everyone would like to see them, except if they could lose Ohtani and somehow have a better record. I don't think any Angels fan would be upset with that.
I don't know. That's like an oxymoron, like, because they weren't successful with Ohtani. So, like, as if they don't make the playoffs without him, weren't they just as successful as they were with him?
See, you got to remember, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So if I'm looking at the season from an Angels fan standpoint, the playoffs aren't really even in my mind. I want to hit above 500. I want to hit a 500 record. That's my goal this season as an Angels fan. I want to keep Mike Trout happy. I want to hit 500, and then I want to see ownership put some kind of effort into growing into the future, getting Trout some help, and going on that way. That's what I would like to see in a perfect world. But those are our 3 downward teams. We're going to keep this ball rolling and kind of go switch things over to the upward teams. I don't know. I got to work on what we're going to call them, because like the downward spiral and the upward teams just doesn't sound good. So we're going to work that out, Hack. But first things first, we're going to go to the Atlanta Braves. We've gone 5-2 this week. They swept the Marlins and they won. They beat the Guardians 2-1 in a series this week. They scored the 3rd most runs in the league. Hack, tell me about the Braves. I know you're not a huge fan due to them being inner rivals within their division with the Phillies, but tell me something nice about the Braves. They've been playing their asses off lately.
Yeah, they've been playing ball. They have the best lineup in baseball. They're young. They play hard. The losing Strider has not seemed to. I hate to say it doesn't affect them, because that's not possible to be a true statement. But they've weathered that better than most teams would be able to. So, Sales pitching, Morton's pitching, Fried has come back to look like the Max Fried pre-injury. There's really they don't have anything that you're like, you got to do better. They're doing what we all thought they would do this season.
That's true, but yeah, they are playing well. I think really what has impressed me is that when Strider went down, they kind of just hit another gear offensively, and they've really just been winning close games, putting up points and runs when they need to. Like I said, it's nice to see the Braves lose a huge piece of their puzzle and still kind of put things together.
They're the only team that lived up to the hype coming into this season. There's out of all the teams that we all had ranked highly, people said this team's going to win 100. This team's going to get 100. This team's going to dominate. Atlanta's the only one that has walked in from day one, and they have not been outside the top 5 on a power rating since day one.
That's true. I mean, even the Dodgers had those 2 weeks there where they lost 3 series in a row, and the Braves haven't even hit that slidage. Obviously, every team hits that in the season, but they haven't gotten there yet. So they're on the uptick, and they're going to keep it rolling, and we're going to keep this list rolling. And this is a team that Hack and I had a strong debate on as far as who should be number 2 versus who should be number 1. He ended up ultimately winning this debate. So we're going to talk first about the number 2 on our up-and-coming teams list, and that's the Minnesota Twins, man. They're absolutely killing it right now. 14-13 on the season. They are second to last in the AL Central. None of that sounds exciting, right? But guess what? They are winners of 7 in a row. They are 8-2 in their last 10. Absolutely rolling. Crazy thing, Heck. Do you want to hear something crazy? They have scored 27 runs in the last 2 games. 27 runs in the last 2 games. I don't know what more there is to say about this Minnesota Twins team. Yeah, exactly. That's all you can do is laugh. That's all you can do. Right. It's not like one big game like yesterday's was. Here, let me double check what today's score was. But while I'm looking that up, Hack, what do you got to say about Minnesota? Or did you not really even like Twins? Who cares?
No, I'm gonna be. They have been. I'm just amazed thinking back like 3 weeks ago when it might have even been longer now. 3 weeks when Royce Lewis went down, and we were talking about like how pathetic the Twins offense was. And, like there was no way that Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez would be able to just throw like shutouts basically to win because they weren't getting anything. And that's why baseball is a heck of a sport, because here we are 3 weeks later, and like you said, you had good arguments for the Twins being the hottest team in baseball. So good for them. It's nice to see. And it's because they didn't make changes. They didn't panic. They stuck with what they had. You didn't really see interviews come out with people tearing down coaching or saying this guy isn't performing, he's overpaid, he's a bum. They just kept the ship steady and won games.
The only reason that they are not in the number 1 spot is because their 7-game win streak came against the Angels, who are on our downward spiral list, and the other series was against the White Sox. And the White Sox, even though they did just sweep the Rays, have only won 6 games this season. So because of their non-impressive wins in that win streak, that's where they got power ranking number 2. But nonetheless, 27 runs against Major League pitching over 2 games is absolutely insane. I thought you all would enjoy that, and I enjoyed watching. I caught the end of the game last night. It was pretty impressive. But we're going to jump to that number 1 spot, the spot that Hack fought so hard for, the number 1 team in the land, or not number 1 team, number 1 moving team in the country this week is going to be, drum roll please, Philadelphia Phillies. Hack, please tell the viewers at home why you are so high on the Phillies this week, besides the fact that they're your team.
They're 19-10 on the season. We talked about not really their team leader, but stat-wise their team leader, Alec Bohm. He has held it down in the cleanup spot for this team. We have Bryce Harper. He's been quiet, but he's starting to wake up. Same thing with Schwarber. Trey Turner came out hot, and I'm burying the lead. The Philadelphia Phillies have the best pitching staff in baseball. Preseason, all the rankings said the bullpen was the best. No one in baseball is pitching better than the trifecta of Wheeler, Nola, and Ranger. And Sanchez and Turnbull aren't far behind them. Walker returned today to show the Phillies might use 6 starters and keep everybody fresh. I know when the Philadelphia Phillies hit the ball, the way they've been hitting the ball with their pitching staff, I don't want to say unbeatable, but they can go to any team, any stadium, and compete with you. And not only compete, on the wrong day, if you don't have elite starting pitching, blow you out of the water. And there's only 4 to 5 other lineups in Major League Baseball that can honestly tell you we can come into your house, and if you're not pitching one of the top 20 pitchers in baseball, you're in for a long day. Unfortunately for the Phillies, one of those teams is in their conference, and it's who they're going to battle it out with all season long. So another great thing for baseball fans, there's going to be a lot of Phillies-Braves games, and these two teams are eerily similar. The Braves do it with a more balanced hitting approach. The Phillies play long ball style. But this pitching staff has been, I know we and you have argued the last 2 weeks where I say Rangers are supposed to be the pitcher of the week. It's crazy the tear the Phillies are on. As a Phillies fan, I know it's an up and down season. So in 2 weeks, I might be on here telling you I hate these pitchers. But for this week, this week,
let's go.
Phillies are the best team and the number 1 up and in.
Hey man, I can let you know that the Phillies pitching since the opening week, when everyone was throwing out their opinion on the Phillies bullpen, since then they've settled in, and team ERA of 3.26, and that's a recipe for winning games in baseball, is having under 3.5 ERA. That's definitely a reason to have them on this list. Like I said, 8-2 in their last 10. So winners of 4 in a row. And they've held their opponents to 4 runs in the last 3 games combined. So pitching, just like you said, hitting, and defense is really showing out this season as well. I really love Bryce Harper. Like I said, last year we saw half a season with Bryce Harper at first base. This season, seeing him there more full time for a full season, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. He's really becoming into a true first baseman, which obviously we knew he would do, being the athlete that he is. But I also thought it would take it maybe a little bit longer, and he's already kind of looks like a natural over there, so that's a great move for the Phillies, and I think that will help extend his career as well. But that's enough about the Phillies. We're going to keep this train rolling. I don't even remember what was next, so we're going to just hit the next and find out what's going to happen. And John, of course, thinking that Harper is going to win a Gold Glove before he's done, and I don't doubt that you're wrong. Oh, yeah, so this is something new that Hack and I put together last week. We got this idea. We are going to, instead of showing you the best teams, here, Hack, why don't we turn off our cameras here real quick just so people can see the full list. So this right here is Hack and I's favorite rosters that we can put together. This is my list. He has a list coming up next. I'm going to go over my list real quick. We're running short on time. But so at first base, my favorite first base of all time is my man Jim Thome, Cleveland Indians, huge power hitter guy. I remember watching him in a game where the Seattle Mariners were up 16, or was that 14-0? He was a huge reason that the Cleveland Indians actually came back. They were the Indians at the time. The Cleveland Indians actually came back and won that game. I think it was like 16-15. Huge fan of his. At second base, earlier I talked about my hate for Aaron Boone. Well, my man Brett Boone is sitting at second base. That is right here. He's one of my favorite second basemen. When I was a kid, I used to frost my hair just like his. I know, super weird. That used to be my baseball haircut. At shortstop, you got your man Nomar Garciaparra. It would have been A-Rod, but I had a chance of meeting A-Rod, and he was kind of ruined it for me. So my man Nomar stepped into his place as shortstop. At third base, I got probably a San Diego Padre fan favorite of Ken Caminiti, a huge part of their World Series run in '98. They didn't win; they lost to the Yankees, but he's a huge part of them getting there. Ken Caminiti, also huge part of the steroid era, and that's probably what he's most known for. Hugely entertaining, great batting stance, huge home run guy. As a Giants fan, we got Buster Posey behind the plate, one of the best catchers I've ever seen play, hitting-wise, picking guys off first, third, catching Steelers running to second base, all-time favorites. I also got the chance to see him play in Volcano Stadium, which is just down the road from where I'm living. But we're going to jump over to the outfield. We got Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr., and Torrey Hunter. I don't think you could put a better outfield together, more speed, more home runs, or more swag in the outfield than these three right here. Designated hitter, I got my main man Edgar Martinez. Growing up in Oregon, a lot of time was spent in Seattle on Mariners games. Edgar Martinez is by far my favorite designated hitter of all time. On the mound, we got my main man Freddie Garcia. His pitch for the Seattle Mariners may not be the flashiest name that I could come up with, but he's one of my favorite pitchers. Also had the chance to meet him on a rehab start when he was also down here playing for the Everett Aqua Sox, which is a Seattle Mariners farm team at the time. Great guy. And then I got Joe Nathan is my closing pitcher in the bullpen. Also had a chance to see him play in person as well. 377 career saves, under 3 ERA. By far my favorite closing pitcher of all time. This right here is my ultimate roster. If I had the chance to kind of draft my own team, this is what it would look like. Hack, go ahead, you can turn your camera back on, my man, so we can see us again. What's your opinion on my team? Tell me what you think.
I love it. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I lost a little camera feed on my end, but I'm going to talk to you.
Talk to me.
I love it. You have a lot of fan favorites there. I loved your catcher, Buster Posey. Great catcher for the Giants. And Torrey Hunter, one of my favorites. That was an awesome pick right there.
Thank you. Yes, it was hard because him and Ken Griffey are both center fielders. both making web. They were both on web gems at the same time. Play 3 through 1 was probably both of them in some form or another. But like I said, we chose 3 outfielders, not left, center, and right fielders. We just chose 3 favorite outfielders, so that's why I have 2 center fielders in there. But thanks, Hack. I appreciate you kind of appreciating my list. Now, everybody, I want you to take a quick look at the cards of my players. Okay, see how new and cool they look. Hack, I hate to call you out, man, but this is your favorites player list, and your cards are looking a bit dated, my man. Your cards are looking a bit older. But respect, Hack. Please go through your lineup a little bit. I'm gonna take my camera off so we can see everybody. Tell me about your favorite all-time roster and who would be on it.
There's definitely a difference we got. We'll start with my catcher, Benito Santiago. The first catcher to use the kneeling with his one leg just sticking out, and he wouldn't even get up. He'd just fire people out from his knees. Crazy catcher, good. The big cat, Andres Galarraga at first. I used to love the Expos, so that's why I got 3 of them on the team, and he was one of his defense and hitting, just amazing. My second base, Delino DeShields, might have been my favorite player growing up. He was skinny and lanky, and I'm a little bit skinny and lanky, so I was like, I can play in the major leagues. Like, there's Delino DeShields. Shortstop from the Phillies, Steve Jeltz. Steve Jeltz had the sweetest jerry curl I have ever seen. He would play shortstop, and it would just hang from the back of his hat. It was, and you have my favorite card. I had like 150 of those Steve Jeltz's cards you have for the picture.
Hey, man, luck of the draw.
From the Reds. Remember, he used to wear the big goggles at third base. Most of the players I like on my list, it's not has so much with their baseball talent as, like how they look.
Their swag.
Just works about them. Yeah. He played third with like big goggles, and if my memory serves me correct, he was like somehow involved with like Spud McKenzie, the Bud Light dog, and him would do commercials together in my head. That could just be something I made up. Sometimes reality like twists in there, but it seems cool. The outfield. Andre Dawson. Fun fact, the only player to win the MVP from a last place team. That is like amazing. It inspired me to do the same thing in the Keystone Softball League. Shout out to that league. Ricky Henderson, favorite player of all time. Kirby Puckett, twin center fielder, just like your pick, but better. Then we go to
wow.
My favorite pitcher. This is a homer pick. Cole Hamels, MVP of the World Series Phillies team. Like, just such a stud year out of this man's left arm. It was unbelievable. He is my favorite Philly of that era, and that says a lot because they had J-Roll. Like, and then perhaps my inspiration, the guy that let me know. You mentioned the baseball card. Like, chat, take a gander at Kent DeColvo's baseball card.
I wish I could make it bigger because that's the dopest baseball card ever.
Like, just look at the swag on that. He threw sidearm. He was a reliever. He was traveled around. Sometimes he'd be a closer. Sometimes a setup man. But he'd come out there. He'd do interviews dressed like this. I mean, when you see that card, if that's not your closer, it better be Bradley. Like, I don't know. And like I said, that team, I don't know if we're going to beat your team, Elmore, but we're going to look better when we arrive at the stadium. Our post-game conference swag is going to be like through the roof. And we're going to give good quotes. So
I'm not gonna lie, man. You definitely got the swaggiest team. And honestly, I forgot about Andres Galarraga, dude. Like, seeing him on your list made me so happy. Like, Andre the Giant Galarraga, man. That dude was awesome. Honestly, the Expos were a team of like what they were so stacked during the strike shortened season. Like, that could have been the Expos. Ugh. So many Expos stories. I'm sure you could talk about the Expos till you're blue in the face too.
They're gonna make a
Um,
Netflix about it, I believe.
Dude, they better. Well, I'll watch it. I'll watch it and stream myself while I watch it, and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna keep this rolling. We're already over time, but we got a couple more things to talk about. And next up, we're gonna talk about our players of the week. And my pitcher of the week is Eric Fede. 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run. Let me turn my camera back on. I know Hacks, your camera is kind of not working too well right now. But he pitched, like I said, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, 11 strikeouts versus the Twins, who's a team that we just had on our rising list. The worst part is that he's on the White Sox, so he unfortunately did end up losing that game after that strong start. But he followed it up again today. He pitched today 8 and a third innings, only giving up 2 earned runs, another 9 strikeouts, 20 Ks in his last 2 games, almost a complete game today. He's absolutely lighting it up. He played last year in Korea, took a year off of the majors, went to Korea, just signed with the White Sox this year. That's why you probably haven't seen his name a lot. But dude is absolutely showing out this year. Absolutely love seeing him. As far as the success he's had for the White Sox don't have a lot to talk about to kind of be happy about. But this is somebody that the White Sox fans could definitely jump on board with. He's also a piece that I can see a lot of teams kind of aiming for near the trade deadline to kind of improve their staff, especially as these injuries continue to kind of roll in. But we're going to kind of move on from this, and we added this week a relief pitcher of the week because I feel like those bullpen guys, they deserve some love too. So we went ahead and we gave out our first relief pitcher of the week award to Mr. Mason Miller, Oakland Athletics. He had this week alone, he had 3 saves and 3 saves and 3 and a third innings pitched, 8 strikeouts over those 3 and a third innings, only allowing 1 hit, 2 saves against the Yankees, 1 against the Orioles. 2 of those teams are at the top of the end of the AL East right now. So he's absolutely blowing through hitters. And here's the best part about him that you probably didn't even know. Dude can throw 103 miles an hour. Like if there's a way to put butts in seats in Oakland, it's getting this kid on the mound as often as possible. The A's sitting in 3rd place in the AL West. He's a huge reason why being able to lock down the game at the end when it matters most is a huge reason why they've been able to kind of have increase their wins over last season by, I believe they're +6 at this point in the season in wins last year. But we're going to continue. We got one more person on this list to kind of include, and that's going to be our offensive player of the week. And that is going to be Mr. Elly De La Cruz. He only batted .333 this week, which usually we have someone in batting at .400. Had a crazy statistical week. But listen to this, my friends. .571 on base percentage this week. Dude was on base almost every time he was up. He had 7 stolen bases, generating 6 runs. He also walked 10 times. One of the things I said on the preseason show about this guy is that he struck out a lot. And guess what? He's still doing that. But he is also being more selective. He's working the count a lot better, getting the pitch count of the starting pitchers up, getting them out of games sooner. And is a huge reason why the Reds have been successful this season. Hack, what is your opinion on Elly De La Cruz, my friend? I mean, he's absolutely tearing through the season right now. Yeah, I mean, John's right. He may steal 80 to 90 bases this season. I mean, that's crazy.
Having a great year.
Go ahead, Heck.
Like I said, he's had a crazy week this week. He's showing why there was so much hype around him. And once he starts consistently making contact, when this man's on the bases, it's been a long time since I can remember somebody as exciting as him. Maybe I'm going to date myself here, but when Dion was running around the bases, players like that, Ricky, and like people that you expected to run every time, his speed is. I'd like to see him race Rojas from Philly.
I mean, he may be faster. He's also a 6'5", and the speed out of the 6'5" guy is insane to me. Not to mention the power, 7 home runs, one of those being inside the park this season, batting just under 300. He had a couple rough games to end the week, but he was batting over 300 just 2 games ago. So look for him to kind of get those numbers back up, 18 RBIs. He's really doing all he can, especially at shortstop. He's a highlight reel almost every single game. He's making a spectacular play. He's got a cannon for an arm. This dude is literally the cornerstone that the Reds have been looking for. He's definitely earned this week's Offensive Player of the Week. And Hack, I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties for you. Did you have anything you wanted to say about either Mason Miller, who's that closing pitcher for the A's we talked about, or anything you want to say about Fetty for the White Sox?
I'm going to talk about Mason Miller. I think what the A's are doing with him is a different approach, and it's paying off for them. At least this week, he got the saves. He is a starting pitcher, but they wanted to put an innings restriction on him, and they decided the best way to maximize the innings that they're going to let him pitch this year was out of the bullpen. And you got saves against. You were in high leverage situations against two of the best teams in the AL. And I will caution, and we'll talk about him more next week with the pitching things, because he has thrown more 100-mile-an-hour pitches than I believe. I might be off by a couple percentage points here, but by more than 85% of the teams in baseball by himself.
Yeah.
One of the downward trends this year is less teams are having their pitchers loaded up to 100, but he seems to hit that regularly, and it's impressive to watch. Like, he's young, he's got a live arm, and enjoy it. Like I said, I think he had a great week, and he did not wilt in those moments. You know, I mean, look at those stats: 8 Ks. He brought the heat, and he throws fastballs. You know, like, this kid ain't here dancing around. He's not Greg Maddux and people. No, he is. Here's my pitch. You can't hit it. And
see what you can with it.
That's fun to watch. It might not be healthy for the pitcher, but it's sure as heck fun to watch a guy rear back and throw triple digits for 8-9 straight pitches. That's impressive.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And like I said, I had mentioned to people watching at home, 103 miles an hour a couple days ago on the radar gun. That's absolutely impressive. But yeah, so next week, folks, we got a jam-packed show for you. We'll have a bunch of news from the week, Monday through Saturday news. We try to get as much Sunday stuff as we can. We do work, we're normal jobs. So we try to get as much information as we can for you. But again, we appreciate y'all watching. Again, we try to like to keep the show to an hour. Next week, we're probably going to go over, though, as we will be diving into some, deeper subjects, especially regarding pitching, injuries, the pitching clock, a bunch of different stuff we're going to dive into, along with our normal scheduled programming. So I appreciate everybody at home watching. We're going to end this show, as we always do, with about a minute and a half of highlight clips from the week, walk-offs, home runs, diving catches. You said it all. Again, my name is iBlack. This is my main man, Hack. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard. See y'all next week at Up and In. We appreciate y'all. Enjoy some highlights.
Thank you.
No. Well, I'm going to do it.
Struggles so far early this season.
Oh, what a catch by Taijuan Walker behind the back.